Hey everybody, Noel with HomeQwik, and for today's quick chat, I've got Brian Coughlin from RentZap. Brian is a really smart guy, a property investor, and he's been in the property management realm on the marketing side for a long time. As past board member with me in the West Valley chapter of NARPO, and still, I believe, on the board, or at least very involved in the Phoenix chapter of NARPO. So smart guy, hang tight. He's got some good stuff to share, so I hope you enjoy it. Thanks. Hey everybody, Noel with HomeQwik. Thank you for checking out another quick chat with HomeQwik. Today I've got Brian Coughlin, my homie from the east side, with RentZap. Brian, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Brian Coughlin. I'm the co-founder and CEO of RentZap. I'm also the co-founder and CEO of Valco Homes. Valco Homes is a buy and hold investment company. So my background is as an owner, as an investor, and through a partnership with my property manager, I started RentZap to fill a hole in what we saw in our leasing process. So we built up RentZap. We view it as a community where we invite other property managers to join our community. And our whole aim and focus right now is just trying to make the leasing process as easy and automated as possible.
So tell us about that. So you guys aren't an automated lockbox system per se. Kind of explain what RentZap is.
Yeah, so back in the day, my property manager and I were basically had a lot of discussions over beers about how difficult leasing is and how there really needed to be a streamlined marketplace that all professional property managers had access to. And we tried to figure out how are we going to go about building that? Well, if you go around town and try to get people to sign up for a marketplace and you're a nobody and no one knows who you are, no one's going to give you their listings. And so we ran into that where we could either start a marketplace like most other companies do, where they just buy feeds from other sources. And really, when you do that, though, you couldn't solve any of the main roadblocks that we were trying to solve. So we knew we needed to get a way to have more control over the listings to seed a marketplace. And so
what kind of roadblocks?
Well, the biggest one, I mean, if you think about like all listing sites today, even Zillow, like they're just glorified Craigslist pages still.
Sure.
They're billboards, right? It's an ad site. So somebody goes on to Zillow and the first immediate roadblock they hit when they find the house that they want is just making contact with the other side. They call the number, they leave a voicemail, they send out a lead request. Well, what they're not seeing is that especially in Phoenix, which is like if you have a single family home, it's really, really hot right now. So
sure,
any listing could get 50 to 100 leads every few days. That's not uncommon. So what you're not seeing is the seeker, the home seeker, is the other side of it, where the landlord, the DIY owner, or the property manager is just getting bombarded and they cannot keep up with everybody. So that's the first roadblock, is that communication roadblock initially, like right after somebody finds a listing and that's when they want to go schedule a viewing. They want to learn all the details about the property, and that's information that exists in the property manager's brain or at the property itself, and they don't have access to that.
Okay, so how do you overcome that?
Yeah, so the first thing we figured out was like, okay, so what's the very first thing that happens when that phone call is made? Well, usually the property manager, if they know what they're doing and they go to NARPM, they pre-screen, right? They pre-screen the seeker so that they're not wasting anybody's time. So the very first thing that we built was a pre-screen tool via text messaging. And we saw just crazy results with that out the gate. When we first started out, we were trying to pre-screen via phone calls back and forth. But the first roadblock time consuming. We would burn out of our call center staff pretty quickly, because they're just answering, they're hearing people lead off with their sob story a lot of times. And
whether it's sob or not, they want you to know their situation.
totally, they want you to, they're like, they don't realize, they don't, like, because moving is stressful. Like you have to have empathy for the people looking for homes. It's stressful. There's not one process to follow. There's a ton of different things happening. So they're trying to be educated at the same time as you're trying to get information from them. The other huge thing that we realized was that most of the communication for seekers is taking place after business hours. There was a big like synchronous communication problem where like business hours 9 to 5 Monday through Friday that's not when people are looking for houses. People work Monday through Friday 9 to 5, right? Ideally, if you're getting a tenant that's employed.
In general non-pandemic years, yes.
yeah, right. Like some of this has changed, but honestly, we still track this data, and a vast majority of our showings and any kind of lead requests, they're coming in after business hours. When usually it's like right after work or right after dinner time. It's probably like when the kids go to bed and like you start your second job of trying to find your house.
Well, and you're not a realtor, but you know that people treat realtors like 24/7, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Property manager is a 9 to 5 business, but somebody shopping for a house that's available for sale or lease, they expect an answer at 8 p.m., right?
Yep. And again, it's because of it's like if you made a graph of how important housing is and how difficult it is, it's like the whole thing just adds up, and it's just really stressful. So that's part of the reason why they have this expectation that their agent needs to be around all the time, but it's kind of like, it's like the only way they can reduce the stress in their life by trying to get answers to all the unknown questions they have.
Sure.
The further they go down the path, the more unknown questions pile up, and like they're like it's really hard. I think we have to always have empathy for that side of the equation as an agent.
Yeah, so we do as much as we can on our site to try to have the pre-qualifying questions about an application on there, at least, to try to deter people that aren't going to qualify for a house to not even waste their time or ours, or to spend the effort to try to see a house or inquire about it if they're not going to qualify. So it's been a while since I've seen the RentZap portfolio, but you guys have some pretty specific pre-qualifiers that you go through before they get access to a house, right?
We do. Like that became when we realized like we were trying to build something to make the process like seamless and sort of on demand for the seeker, where they can control the flow. We realized like in order to do that, we had to build something that was pretty opinionated. We needed to basically standardize a lot of what property managers were doing in order to build one kind of like automated flow. Where a lot of our other people in the space were taking a like customize it any way you want type of a thing. But if it's super customized, that's not a really good experience for the seeker, because then every home they come in contact with is asking different questions and telling them to do different things.
Well, if you have a lot of properties, I mean, that's a lot of work on the lister's end to try to customize every single property for a wide swath of people that might see it online and just have basic questions.
Yeah. So we took a research stance like from the get-go, and we're still an incredibly research-driven company. Like when we have an idea of doing something, a lot of people just jump right to like making a solution. For us, our first step is like, okay, cool. Like, how do we thoroughly research this? Because we need to be able to go to our property managers and say like, hey, here's the data and the proof that this is the way to go. And I'm eating my own dog food as an investor with my portfolio on the line here too. Like I will not pitch a standardization or a change on anything that I haven't already used myself, because we'll test it on our own homes first in order to feel comfortable about rolling it out to everybody else, and also to like have the proof that it's actually working. And there have been times where we've tested something and then just been like, it's not really, it doesn't really matter, not really performing.
We've all done that. We've all been down that road, I think.
Totally. Like it sounded like a great idea, but
So it sounds like what you're saying is be intuitive, give them lots of information, but at the same time, keep it simple, right?
Yeah, and it's tricky to balance.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay. So when we were at, and the date of this podcast is June 18th, 2021. So we just had our first annual NARPM, Arizona NARPM chapter meeting last week. And you were on the panel, and I thought you made some really good points. And this kind of leads into that, creating an overall better tenant or resident experience. And one thing that really stuck out in my mind that you said, I even took notes on it, and I usually don't take notes, was that you said the tenants should feel like they're living in a professionally managed house. And I know that just from all the years that I did leasing myself, it's very easy for tenants to slip into that other bucket where we don't treat them the same as our owners. Now, as a realtor, the owner is my client, the tenant is my customer. But I just know, because I've been in this business a long time and know so many property managers, the tendency is to start to treat the tenant as a lower class customer. And we don't owe them a fiduciary, but they are still our customers. So I just want to see if you want to expand on that a little bit about just creating that overall better tenant experience and having them feel like they want to chase a professionally managed property, whether it's the one they're in now, but have them chase a professionally managed property for the next time down the road.
Yeah, man. I mean, I could talk all day about that. I think it's one of the
go for a few minutes.
Yeah, I know. That is literally what I wake up thinking about. So, so cut me off when I start babbling, which is probably guaranteed to happen. But I fully believe that is one of the biggest blind spots in our industry. I think it's one of the biggest missed opportunities for the industry as a whole. There is. So, like, I always ask, like, property managers, like, say your mom or your brother or someone you're close to wants to rent a home. What would you do? You'd probably find a home from a colleague. You'd put them in a professionally managed home.
Right.
You wouldn't be telling them, like, oh, go, call this guy on Craigslist and hope, Joe Smith.
Hope he doesn't show up every Tuesday morning and
seriously
check your mailbox or go in the backyard.
The horror stories of people living in unmanaged houses, like that is what you hear in the news all day. And because people don't know, lay people don't know the difference between a professionally managed home and then like a DIY owner, the mental picture of a property manager is cast in a negative light.
Sure.
People associate the two. They don't realize that, like, no, a professional manager, they're ethics trained every year. They're fair housing trained every year. There's requirements they have to meet and hit every year. They get audited. They have to know where every penny goes. Yeah. They follow the Landlord-Tenant Act. They have something on the line. There's no recourse for DIY owners, and that's the reason why there are horror stories today. So the fact that it's not just blatantly obvious to the public that it's beneficial for them to live in a professionally managed home is a crime. And I view that as one of, like, it's going to take a village to turn that around. But if I could be the person nipping at every property manager's heels and telling them, be proud of being professional, and let's raise this industry up together by taking care of the tenants and showing them customer service, because then the tenant base is going to want to live professionally. And who follows the tenants everywhere they go? The owners. Yeah. So, like, I think that the long-term play to grow this entire industry, to grow the amount of homes that are professionally managed, is create consumer-driven demand, create renter-driven demand for it, and then the owners will follow. And we see this work in multifamily already. So it's going to work.
In Phoenix, Phoenix as a whole, at least half of the rental properties in Phoenix are managed by owner, right?
So more. We've done some research.
Yeah, us property managers, we're all chasing the ones that want property management, but we're also trying to convert those owners that are do-it-yourself landlords. And unfortunately, a lot of times they don't call us until they're already in a problem. Have already had a bad experience or in the middle of a bad experience.
Totally.
So those are just the owners we get. And then over the 13 years I've been doing this, I've also heard the horror stories from tenants saying, yeah, we rented from this guy before, and it was bad because of X, Y, and Z. So I just think it's great that you're pushing that, and I am on board with pushing our team. I mean, there's a lot of things that we've been doing the last couple of years to try to enhance that tenant experience, because we know the better the tenant, the better they're going to take care of the house, the longer they're going to stay, the better that is for our client and for us, right? We make money off the owners and the tenants. We should treat the tenants, like gold, right?
Yeah, they're the golden goose, right?
Yeah.
Like the house isn't putting cash in your bank account. It's the tenant.
Sure.
The house is
and in a normal market right now, it's absolutely insane. I'm getting 10 applications for every property, but it was only 18 months ago that, you still had to push pretty hard to find people. So rents have jumped up, houses are going fast, but we can't always assume it's going to be like this. And I think you're right. Having good practices of taking great care of people will just serve not only your company, but obviously your owners, and then of course the tenants really well.
It's true, and as an owner, it's better for your investment to have a stable tenant that
Somebody's
happy.
happy.
Totally.
Yeah.
Happy people don't kick in walls, and people that respect you, and like that helps you get paid more on time. And
I see the videos on YouTube where customers are losing their minds and fighting employees at a McDonald's. This is over a soda. So if you've got somebody in a really stressful situation about a roof over their head for their kids, you really got to make sure that you're keeping them happy, making them feel safe, making them feel appreciated, all of those things. So I just thought that was a really great point you brought up. So yeah, I'm on board. Let's keep that going.
Cool.
You also, I know that you're working on a new product, maybe a little bit down the road, but I heard you speak about this on another Zoom call that we were in. Tell me a little bit about not necessarily battling, but keeping up to pace with the Zillow and the Trulias and this new e-leasing that's happening. So we know they're trying to take us property managers completely out of the game, right? They want to control it all, but maybe that's just a jaded view that I have because I am a property manager. So tell me your thoughts on this leasing and what.
So going back first to the beginning of the conversation, like we had this idea of creating a exclusively professional online marketplace from the get-go, and our issue was how do we get listings. And so the first thing we did was we tried to figure out let's offer a tool to professionals so that they can use our tool, and then when we get to enough market share, then we have enough to kind of kick on the more of the marketplace, the typical marketplace looking structure behind it. So that's kind of what we're in the process of doing right now. E-leasing being the online marketplace, easy online leasing, and we're going to Zillow specifically. So we're seeing Zillow and all the ad sites. It's not just Zillow. That's one point everybody harps on Zillow just because
they're just the biggest names.
They're the biggest name in the room.
We just say Zillow.
It's everyone. It's Zumper, Realtor.com, every single one of them. What they're doing is they're transitioning from ad sites to transaction-based models. And we're seeing these trends happening in every industry where ad businesses just aren't doing very well. And I think the main driving reason behind that, again, is the consumer. The consumer doesn't want to hit that initial roadblock, right? Like nowadays, when you see an ad, you used to see an ad on a billboard or an ad in a commercial, and then you had to go and take further actions. Now we just want to click a button, when we see an ad online, we expect to be able to just click a button and buy something. And that's for every industry now. It's for big purchases now. It's for cars online. Open Doors normalized it for home sale purchases. Airbnb's normalized it for short-term rentals. So it's only logical for all these ad sites to go, okay, our ad business is potentially dying. And by the way, who are they really? How are they getting eyeballs? They're paying money to the godfathers of the ad sites, right? Yeah. They're paying money to Google and Facebook. Like Zillow in 2019 alone spent $750 million in their sales and marketing. And I would wager a lot of that cash is just going straight to Google and Facebook. So what happens if Google and Facebook decides to just flip on real estate listings? They already have. Facebook already has on Marketplace. You can list your homes and rentals on Marketplace. So, Google's watching what Facebook's doing. They're probably working on stuff behind the scenes. So if you're a Zillow, I think that Zillow's more backed into a corner. And where a lot of people think that they're like the big dog that's trying to go after a property manager's business. And I feel like they're backed into the corner by bigger dogs, Google and Facebook. And so they're going, we need to transition from this ad-based model and listen to what our customers are saying, who they're all completely frustrated that nobody's getting back to them and they can't go see these homes. And they're trying to,
especially in a market like this, where, I mean, look, if I list a property, I'm giving 10 people bad news, right? Mm-hmm. Only one of them's getting the house. So getting them from seeing the house and the pictures through that leasing process, you're right. People want to be able to just click and do it right now, right?
Totally. So our strategy is like, how do we build the rest of that leasing process that isn't online yet, that should be online today?
So let's talk about that. Is that they got to see the house, right? Which you guys have your portion figured out. They have to apply for the house, which pretty much everybody I know, you can apply online, right, at their website. So like, what do you see as kind of what needs to happen from A to Z to get there?
Yeah. So if you define what A to Z is, so if you look at like the seeker's journey, there's the search stage at first, and that's when they're going on a search site like Zillow or Trulia or HotPads, and they're narrowing down thousands of choices to a handful, and they're using that with basic information at first, like rent price, bed, bath area, that kind of thing. Then they're moving into the decide stage. And that's where we're focusing on right now, is like, what information do people need to decide? And so the product that we're gearing up to release is called Home Reports. And Home Reports are when someone's in the decide stage, that's when they're comparing like 4 to 5 listings. Sure. And they want to be able to know what's happening in the home, and they want all the details on the costs, and they want all the details on what's coming with it, and what's the information they need to apply. And so we handle anywhere between like 4,000 and 6,000 seeker conversations every single day. And we just started tallying every single question they asked us, whether they were on site or, when they were giving us feedback or before they even go to visit the home. Okay. And it was pretty amazing that we tally up hundreds and hundreds of questions, and basically everybody was asking the same like 10 to 15 questions.
How much does it cost to move in? What's included? What utilities I got to pay, right?
Totally. All the stuff that if you're a property manager, you've heard a million times. But all this information, it exists either in the house itself or in the property manager's head. It's not in the digital world yet.
It's not just readily available, right? At a click.
So we've figured out like, okay, we need to be able to deliver these people a verified report of all this information they want. And we want to give it to them the second they come off of Zillow. Okay. So that they call, email, contact on Zillow, and we're like, hey, here's all the questions that you want answered before you even do it, including a 3D tour. We do 3D tours standard on everything because, again, that was another huge change in COVID, huge request we got from consumers.
Well, not just COVID, but now we've got this mass migration from all these states. Illinois, New York, Massachusetts, the West Coast, Washington, California, Oregon. They're killing it. Right?
We're also like through the generational shift too, where renters nowadays they're Gen X and younger. These are people that grew up, millennials are the largest group of renters right now. And we expect online, we expect instant gratification. We're Amazon people, and that's
like when you buy something on Amazon. So I've always hated renting sight unseen to somebody. Mm-hmm. I'm like, if you're coming from out of state, you got a friend, family member, somebody that can go walk the property. And we do walkthrough videos, and Matterport and all that stuff is great. But you're right. You go to Amazon, even if you buy a $20 item, they've got 5 pictures and a video, right? Even on those $20 items, they've got a video showing you hey, here's how the selfie stick works. Check
Mhm.
it out, taking a picture. So I think that's a great point. I mean, they want to be able to see it all, walk through it, and experience it, with it on a screen.
Yeah, we saw, 'cause we track stuff like how many homes leased sight unseen, and we saw that number double
Yeah.
through COVID through this last year, and that's when we're like,
Well,
okay,
I get tons of calls for it right now, and I'm like, guys, look, there's 14 people that are applying. I'm going to rent it to somebody that's seen the house,
totally,
but you can't always expect that. And again, I want to make sure that we don't make a ton of changes just because it's super crazy right now. I want to make changes that are going to work forever, right? And that makes
absolutely.
sense forever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think that like we're still always going to have the on-demand showing aspect of it,
Yeah.
but it may be that like the people that are going to view it in person have already thoroughly viewed it online through
Yeah.
a virtual tour, and that
Or to your point, if you've got a great online virtual tour, including the 3D,
yeah.
then yeah, I'd be a lot more comfortable doing that if there was an easier way to get them access to that and to make sure it's on point. They're seeing that the actual house, not a video that I took 3 years ago, right, when I advertised it last time. So right now I'm running them so fast we can't even get the videos done before people are applying. Right?
Exactly.
But I'm not going to hold it off market for a couple of days just to get the video done when
Right.
I've got 4 people that can see it today, right?
Yeah, it's you basically like perfectly described the logjam that's usually happening in property management, and it's where we're hoping, or we know we're going to be able to solve, because we have an on-site team that works for multiple different property managers, so that we're going out there, and again, it's all about just creating that one high quality standardized experience. So every listing has the 3D tour and has all the information answered, and we have more control basically than any of the other listing sites, ad sites can have, because they're trying to just at first they were just trying to aggregate as many listings as possible, and they rose market share to that. But I think that they're going to struggle, because the more you aggregate, the harder it is to control. Like think about how hard it is to get one owner like in line with your standardization, and you're telling them like, hey, do it this way because I have years of experience proving that this is the right way. Well, they're trying to do that with 70% of the listings that are on there, and that's a challenge where we're going from the ground up. We're going like, hey, let's take the people that already have their, can I say shit together, property managers that already know what they're doing, and let's take that high quality experience and just scale them. And like and that was, for me, it became like a social issue, because I started realizing that like if you scale the amount of homes that are professionally managed, you're going to improve each community that professional managers are in. You're going to provide more stable housing for everybody.
I don't want HOAs blocking us. I want HOAs saying, if you're going to rent your house, it needs to be professionally managed.
Yes. Oh, I lost my headphones. I got too excited by that one. Yeah, no, but I do. I love talking to people that understand that. You should be proud to be professional, because you guys make a massive impact on your community that you work in. And so what if we could empower you, and what else could property managers pull off and do? And that's what I'm excited to build and to see.
I think that is a great way to start the wrap on this, Brian.
Cool.
Yeah, message heard loud and clear for me. I hope other people are hearing it. And I'm with you, man. I want them to want us. I want the owners to want us, and I want the tenants to want us. I want the HOAs to want us. I want the Department of Real Estate to want us to manage as many properties as we can, because then they know we're doing it the right way, or at least should be. I think it's good for everybody involved. Brian, you're a smarter man than me. We need to, next time we'll talk aliens and some other cool stuff. But man, I really appreciate your time. If someone wants to reach out to you for, what product you want to push? RentZap too?
Dude, honestly, and if just for talking, if anything I said resonates at all, we still just need more people talking right now, especially after a year off of not being able to see each other in person, things like that. Like this all starts just with building relationships. So
I think you're right. But if they wanted to check out,
yeah, for sure.
rentzap.com.
Yeah. Email me directly, Brian, BRIAN @rentzap.com. Let's just keep it that way for now. That should be good. But yeah, rentzap.com. We're making improvements on the site, but you'll get the gist of our on-demand tool that we have right now. And email me and keep you up to date on our further developments.
Well, I always appreciated your time and effort with me on the board for our NARPM chapter.
Yeah.
And I know you stay really involved with that, and just like you said, always great to talk. I really appreciate your time, and hope to see you for a beer or two.
Absolutely.
In person soon.
Yeah, sounds good and all. Thank you.